Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Chayton, you took the words right out of my mouth. Hello and welcome to episode 5B of JoomCast, the podcast that features people who are part of the Joomla community and discovers how they got here, where they contribute to Joomla, and where they're going, and a whole bunch more. My name is Tim Davis of CyberSalt and the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel, and I'm here with my co-host Chayton Madan of JoomDev. Hi, Chayton.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I am doing well. We're having a unique situation today. This is part 2 of a conversation we started with Ramesh of J2Store last week, and it was such great content, we decided we'd break it up into 2 podcasts. So today, we're going to pick it up where we left it off and hear some really interesting and exciting and paradigm-shifting things about where not only J2Store is going in the next 5 years, but where a lot of things with Joomla and online activity is going.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff related to J2Store and Joomla 4 as well, and how anyone trying to get a website, mobile application can use the technology available with Joomla, and especially for extension developers, how the extension developers can make their extensions compatible with the Joomla Web Services API, which is like one of the major features of Joomla 4, and make their extensions available to a whole new areas that they were never available before. So listen and learn.
Yes, so the next voice that you hear will be your favorite co-host here on JoomCast.
Let me ask you this. So let's talk more about J2Store's future, and I think Carter, I bet you're going to talk about that. So where do you see J2Store in 5 years from now?
There are a number of technologies trends that keep on evolving these days, because the power of computing and everything else is evolving. The entire industry is actually evolving. So there is one interesting aspect that Joomla 4 itself has got. If you look at the internals of Joomla 4 itself, you can use Joomla as just an API itself.
Right. So you don't have to use a CMS.
It is not necessary that it has to be your CMS. It is not necessary to be your front-end experience at the customer-facing side. So the customer-facing side is not necessarily B2B Joomla. So what you can do is that you can treat Joomla as a separate your API backend. That is something that is very familiar to your own people. And then you can use it as either as a content management system or a complete catalog management or a complete e-commerce ecosystem, store management, or a complete anything, whatever type of content, whether it is a catalog or any type of content, you manage it in Joomla. It is possible that you can present this to the customer in any number of ways. So you can deliver a complete website experience. You can deliver a mobile experience,
right,
using either your mobile app or anything you wanted it. So you can deliver a mobile app experience. Even you can deliver a watch experience. It all depends.
I hear you.
This is something called, they call it as a headless CMS. These days, you can find a lots of terminology for it. It's like stateless, headless, and number of fancy terms. But I would like to stick to a very common terminology. So you can use Joomla as your thing that you manage your entire content types and everything else in the backend, and you can build a front-end website, a simple static website that actually consumes content from Joomla, or consumes entire e-commerce catalog and everything else from Joomla, or you can use it as just a simple repository that actually serves multiple of your sites. So you have, let us say you have a blog and you have a store and you have an internal knowledge base and you can have a complete customer facing documentation. So everything is actually managed within Joomla, but actually presented in different ways.
Got it.
Similarly, J2Store actually can do this. You can use J2Store as a headless e-commerce.
Oh, wow.
5 years from now. The fundamentals of it we are already putting together in the J2Store 4 itself. Right now it is not fully stateless, but it is partially stateless basically. You can also use J2Store as your stateless e-commerce. That is, it doesn't depend on the session basically.
So let me try to rephrase what you're saying. Let's say I want to get an e-commerce mobile app, and a mobile app would obviously sell products. What you're saying is, in the future, I can use Joomla 4 with Web Services API, and in it, I can also use J2Store to get all the product information in JSON or XML or whatever web services format we use, to get all that information inside the mobile app and have it displayed and have the user check out and do everything all within API. It's all going to be built in. Yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
that is something.
Wow.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Chayton, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say. Look, everybody knows I'm not a developer or programmer, and I'm getting the gist of it, but I know that, Chayton, you have experience doing apps.
When you're doing an app, you actually have to start everything from scratch. You actually have to do it from ground up. We use Joomla 3 as for hosting APIs and everything, but web services doesn't exist. So you just create your own plugin which outputs the JSONs based on the the question mark input you're sending in, whether that be login or whatever. But this is exciting. With this, you can build an e-commerce app with the built-in services that are already there. You don't actually have to build anything rather than just setting up a Joomla install, enabling web services, however that's going to work, and installing J2Store, right?
In the future, though we call it as a distributed computing these days, people still would like to, manage certain things in one place because that is what makes their life easier. It is not possible for you to build one system for every different department. For example, you might be having a content department that delivers a continuous content for blogs and other stuff, and you might be having a video areas, and there are lots of content types out there. It is not possible for you to create isolated systems for them. Even if you build a complete connected systems, it would take a huge amount of time, not only time, money, and resources. Only a bigger organization could do.
This goes back to the thing we were discussing earlier in the day. If you have more than 200 products in your catalog, you can hire a developer, then you can do whatever you want. But what you're trying to target is someone who doesn't have that big of a catalog, who doesn't have resources to hire an on-site developer, but still want to do a good job, still want to have a mobile app, still want to manage all of it himself.
That is exactly the idea. You're familiar with Joomla.
Right.
Okay. I'm not adding any new learning curve to you. So just use Joomla to create your catalog, put everything in there, put your inventory there, and even your blog in there, everything in there. So you can use either Joomla as is and as both the front end and the back end. Right now, whatever we have, it's a single system. But there is a customer who says, okay, I want to have customer facing things completely different. They can use static site connectors. For example, there is a Gatsby.js is there. There is a Hugo is there. There's a number of them is actually coming up. So you can use them and then consume your API and present a different experience to the customer.
Man, I've just learned a ton of stuff because it's filling in things. Clearly, there is a shift coming up. I almost would say a paradigm shift, but that's so worn out from decades ago. But there's a shift coming out that developers will want to be aware of what we're talking about here, so that they can not only continue to put out the same good product that works on a Joomla website, but also that they can expand and have their stuff used and connected with these with mobile apps and all these things that we've been talking about.
In 5 years from now, people won't be going to a website to order a product. They will only be ordering like, hey Alexa, buy me a shirt. So that's what is going to come up. So now your e-commerce store should be able to process a voice-based command that actually comes from Alexa.
And you can only do that if you have your products available in a web services kind of thing, where you can match the name of the product and all the thing. It can't go search on your website.
We better move on to something that I know a little bit better. So it's time for rapid fire. Help me! Other than something from Akiba or Regular Labs or J2Store, name one of your favorite extensions.
Kunena, the forum.
Oh, Kunena Forum. Excellent. What is one thing that you'd like to change in Joomla, assuming you were in charge?
I would like to change the way that the language overrides are being done.
Okay, you want to expand on that a little bit?
So right now, if you have to do a language override for the back end and the front end, you have to choose a filter and then go and create a language override. Similarly, if you wanted to do it for the front end, then again change the filter and then create an override. This is something that is most people do not like to do it, because if the customer wants to see the cart button, add to cart button as buy now, it has to be buy now in the back end also.
So you'd like to see a system that just changed them front and back?
Just have one single language override, that's it.
This is something I experienced the other day as well. I was trying to do an override, search for it, and it didn't come up. I think like third time I searched for it, I realized that I have to select front end so I can see. I think if there's an option for all, which is the default, that should suffice, right?
Yeah, if you go to J2Store, there is only one single language file that has 99% of the language strings, nothing else. So it's not necessary, basically.
What is something you like or love about Joomla?
What I love about Joomla is that while the system is more flexible, the system is also secure. That it actually follows the coding standards, like unlike any other system that might break any time and keep you sleepless. Joomla actually gives peace of mind.
Name someone who contributes a lot to Joomla. Who comes to mind?
Basically, I like and learn a lot about coding practices and everything from Nicholas from Akiba Backup because he is my guru. Whenever we hire a developer, what we actually do is that we ask them to read line by line about the Akiba Backup's code. See, that is the standard training procedure in our company. We ask them to go through each and every class and then read the code line by line, and then find similarities and where it goes and flow and the workflow and everything else. So we ask them to do this specifically. This is the training we actually give them to the.
Okay, great. Now, I don't know if you still do any developing because you've got a lot running your business, but what operating system and editor do you use for coding?
PHP Storm and Atom. I switch between these two. And the operating system I use in Mac OS X.
And that's the end of Rapid Fire. Ramesh, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you want to mention or talk about?
The one thing I really would like to talk about is that in the Joomla as an ecosystem, right, there is one thing when it comes to community building. It is not possible for the CMS alone to have everything inbuilt, but the CMS should be flexible and extendable. That's what actually Joomla is. So one thing I really wanted to do is that I want more and more developers to extend and offer features that people are actually looking for. There is one trend I actually personally see is that there are hundreds of extensions that there is no demand for such a kind of an extension. My request is that to the community, especially to the developers, is that please make extensions, more and more extensions that people actually wanted.
How do you figure out what the useful extensions are?
For instance, there are a number of communities that do donations. This I see in our own system. We would not have built a donation plugin for J2Store. It's not the core area of J2Store, basically. Donation is different from shopping cart. But we had to build the donation base part because the customer has to enter a variable amount as a donation amount. And because people are using a shopping cart for accepting a donation. But if you look at the other way around, for instance, in WordPress, there is an extension called Give. There are a number of extensions similar to that. It offers a huge amount of features for especially targeting for those charities that accept donations. So this is a niche area where there is a demand. And there is one area called ticket booking. So people wanted to do an event in ticket booking. Now people are using e-commerce systems to do a ticket booking, which to an extent it's okay, but the ticket booking system should be much more versatile, like for example, seat selection.
Right.
Many of these things actually come from my e-commerce experience, but there are other areas that people really wanted to do as well. So those things, if the developers can take out those niches and then develop more extensions, more and more extensions, the community will grow exponentially, and that will bring more and more Joomla users.
Right. And I think there's a software called User Voice. What it does is you put together ideas. So anyone can come sign in and write an idea like I want blogging in Joomla, or I want, log in with Facebook in Joomla. And other people can come and register and upvote it. And what happens is at the end of the day or a month later, you have the features that the most people want at the very top automatically because they got most upvotes. Something like that existed for Joomla back in the day. It's not up anymore. But if something like that exists for Joomla and for extensions as well, that can really help drive the ecosystem and the extension developers, and not only the extensions developer, but the Joomla team as well. We were talking to Puneet yesterday. They work on project. They are working on this page builder for Joomla. And that can kind of be used for evaluating these ideas to figure out whether or not users actually need these features. It's up to the extension developers or the Joomla volunteers team to pick up that and see if it's feasible to implement it in the core or whether that can be a third-party extension. So something like that I think would very help.
It would mostly be like a third-party extension. For instance, even if you take the e-commerce system itself, we do not have a social proof extension. The e-commerce these days use the fear of missing out. It's called FOMO. And then there is a user proof, that is a social proof. So these are some of those two areas that are actually like working like a magic. But if you look at the systems, we do not have any.
That can help to get something like user voice in Joomla, where everyone can vote upvote ideas, and then extension developers have an easy way out where they can see, okay, if 1,000 people upvoted for this has to be something important. This has to be something that other people need,
There's been an extension that I wish that existed for many years now, and I have mentioned it to a couple of programmers or developers that I've talked to. But not being a developer and not being a programmer, it's not something that I can contribute. So I really appreciate your comments on that, Ramesh, because people looking to see what could benefit the whole Joomla community. I understand why some of those extensions get developed over and over and over again, like a slideshow or a login or something like that, because someone is learning, and so they start and they put it out, and it's just part of that process. When I do the live streams on my channel, we'll pop into the Joomla extensions Facebook group and see who's promoting new stuff. And there's some really interesting things, and you see people that don't necessarily recognize their names or their companies, but they're putting out some cool stuff and some stuff that already exists. They're trying and they're building up to that. But for others, that's great advice.
I go to the very basic itself. In an e-commerce, abandoned cart is one of the most prevalent, I'll say, evil. So there are more than 60% of the users actually abandon their cart. And that's the actual running statistics, actually 70% basically. We do not have anybody build an abandoned cart recovery system that works. Even for there is no decent abandoned cart recovery systems for Richmart or EcoShop or many of them.
Ramesh, I have learned a ton. How can people contact you? What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah, if they can contact me at Ramesh Elamathi, RameshElamathi, Ramesh Elamathi.
We'll have that in the notes too.
Yeah. Well, I probably have to write that down. Yeah.
It's a bit too long. Otherwise, you can just tweet it at J2Store Joomla. That's easier.
Ramesh, it was great having you. Thank you for your time. Since you have 15, 20 employees and 50,000 customers, so your time must be valuable. So it was great having you around. We'll see you around in the Joomla community.
Thank you, Chetan, and thank you, Tim. It's really a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Chetan, that's a wrap for episode 5 and 5B, the second half.
Right.
As always, it's been great to spend time with you and the Joomla community. JoomCast is recorded in front of a live audience at JoomDev headquarters simply because Chetan's employees enjoy any chance to get to sit around and watch him work for a change. If you want to reach Chetan personally, his Twitter handle is @ChetanMadan. That's ChetanMadan. And if you want to reach Chetan personally, his Twitter handle is... Oh, I already said that. If you want to reach me, Tim Davis, you can reach me at BasicJoomla. We welcome your comments and ideas and suggestions for guests for JoomCast. Tweet us at JoomCast, and if you are listening to us on Anchor.fm, hold the message button and leave us a comment. Until next time, enjoy your Joomla sites.
God bless.